What's up, fellas? I'm out piddling with Betty today. Just little stuff. This was about 2 miles too long. I cut about that much off of it for my tire carrier. I wanted to show y'all some things. On the 98 models, if you have that, or 2000, some of you guys live up north, y'all need this heater. But if you don't, here's the 2 wires for it. They're up here in this harness, and they're big wires. You could run a light back here. Like if you put it up on the roof, or somewhere back here, you could run a pretty good big set of lights for backing up off of, I'll be jerry-rigging like that, because I don't need it, off your switches right here. These are cool too if you don't have a Bluetooth radio. But I got the shifter fixed. All it was is a switch right here. When you are using the shifter, it puts voltage to the shifter down there for the switches. Then when you put it in overdrive, it cuts the switch off and throws the power to overdrive. So I got it jumped right now, but it's working. I just got to get a new switch. I've been messing with the radio today because I don't have any tunes in here. Yeah, I'm talking to myself. Yeah, everybody thinks I'm crazy when I make videos. I'll put some Orion speakers in it. I want to put a sub box back here, but the problem is that last trip we went out on, that was the mud and water level. So anything in the floor would be ruined unless I fiberglass the box, but still, I can mount the amplifier up here. I got plenty of battery. There's batteries back there, 2 6-volts, plus the crank battery. So I'm trying to figure out how to keep the water out of here other than not going in it, but I'm not going to do that. But you can see anything back here is going to get ruined. So I'm out here brainstorming today. Maybe I can build something under the box, because this water level here, the back seat, which last time before, these are good too, boy, if y'all get some of these. I soldered and heat shrink those. I got to do something with this damn headliner too. I'm gonna show y'all something else. Where is it at? I'm just piddling today. I don't have money to do much to her, so I just piddle what I can afford to do. These little lighters like this, I don't know, you can use them for cigarettes or whatever, but for soldering, they work really good. I use it at work all the time. I just want to show y'all that. You got to be careful not to burn things around it, but it gets hot fast. You can solder big wire, because this is all I had. And usually a little solder gun won't work, that won't melt that, but this will get it done. I use it at work all the time. But I finally got the tunes working in here. If you get your door speakers, you should take your doors apart every now and then and clean the mud out of them. You got little drain holes right here and right there. You can see I got mud in them now. Right here. Yeah, I need to do it myself, but get mud built up in the doors. But if your door speakers quit working like mine did, there's a wire that runs through here that was broke on both sides of mine. But what I did is you can pull this out and reseal it. It's just a pain in the butt, but you can do it and get some good wire with a sheathing on it, like I use. I got some at work. It's a 2-wire with a piece of string in it, and it's coated real good. Got rubber on it. I ran that back through there to fix that. Finally I ain't had a radio that worked decent in this thing for the whole time I've had it. But I fixed the steering. If you guys plumb your box like mine, because you can do it all different ways now. You don't have to buy this expensive box. The cylinder, this is temporary because I can get this cylinder easy. It's not long enough. It needs to be, this is a 6-inch throw, 3 inches each way. It needs to be 4 if you're going to run it like this, because I'm losing about 1 inch of steering each way. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. But I straightened this all back out here. Packed the hubs, got all that done, checked everything out. Everything looks good. The axles, the seals, the bearings. There was really not much water in there, believe it or not. It amazed me too. But I got all that done, and I reset the steering. My front end was sitting over about 1/4 inch that way. I straightened all that out, and the starter is acting up still. But if you take your starter off and pull your solenoid off, usually you can clean it out. The metal they use is just junk, and which they ain't made to go in water anyway, but they get rust in them and it wants to stick. And I did that, and it was wanting to overheat on me again. That's still staying clean. That's for my power steering cooler. I put that in there years ago, and everybody said it was just gonna get cobbed with mud. It's a little dirty, but it ain't bad. It's did good. But the radiator, it was running hot on me again. And evaporator, I mean the condenser, the radiator, everything had mud all in it. And what I found that works good to clean them with is that Aluma-Bright stuff for cleaning wheels or semi stuff. It'll boil that mud out of there. It's about the only way you can get it out. You got to get it back to bright shiny aluminum for it to cool right. We got a broke motor mount, and it's came up and hit the shroud and broke this, so we got to get a shroud, and I'm gonna get a new fan and put those Daystar motor mounts in it. We're gonna do that here pretty soon. And I'm gonna take and all around this fans, the shroud and the electric fan, you can't really see it, but down in there, there's a gap, probably about that wide from between the radiator and the fan. I found this rubber that slips on, and I'm gonna slip it on around that whole fan and on the shroud to kind of seal it to the radiator better. I actually got a 2-speed fan out of a junkyard that was this size and put it on here, but this one actually moves more air than that 2-speed one did, so I ended up putting it back on here. I've just been tinkering with it every weekend. It's just nothing really to make a video on, but I made a spacer plate on the lathe just to do it. Probably won't do much, but I just had I had some material that size, and I was messing around with my lathe, and I just made that. I unhooked the methanol injection and put my temp sensor, my intake temp sensor back here, because it just seems to me to run better that way. If you look at 4-Wheel Magazine did a article on how to get more power out of these motors, and the thing was to change the intake, the 4-hole injectors like we have. These come out of a Dodge Neon, I think they're 20 pound, and move this here, change the exhaust and put a header on it. It's supposed to be like 20 horsepower. So I did all that, and it just seems to me to work better this way, because it's gonna be so hot in here, it's gonna keep it, the timing down and all that kind of stuff. So I've never heard it ping or anything since I put it there. I ran it there like that for almost 3 years before I moved it. I did a video on it. I took the air box out because we did get it skipping the last time we went out, because it sucked water up in here I had holes all in this intake tube. So I changed it out, and I put rubber, like a rubber hose on here, every little sharp point. And also, if you got this type of snorkel, your computer bolts where they go through right here, your mount, they're too long and they get into the tube. So I had cut all of these shorter. If you got that intake tube, you might want to check that, because you can't really tell. I didn't know it till I pulled the tube out, and there was a hole in it here, hole in it there, and down there. But I cut all them shorter and put all that back in there. And what else have I done? we're going on a trail ride January 30th. We didn't get to go on that last one because I lost my mother that weekend, and just you know, she hadn't been sick, but she had appendix surgery and things went awry and she didn't make it through, so I didn't get to go trail riding. I've kind of been in a funk for a minute about it. Oh, I changed back to the Jeep. I put new brakes on the rear because I had never did that. New brakes on the front because they were all worn out. Got that done. And like I said, packed the hubs. That's the speakers that were in the back there. I changed them to a 6.5. A lot of you guys was talking about me. I need to put frame stiffeners on this thing. That's what this is. It's not stiffening the frame, but this is a unibody, and it's bolted through here, through the pinch seam, and this is connected to it too, which is these over to here. I haven't ever welded these. I was going to weld them eventually, but it keeps it from twisting too, because before I put these on, when I'd be in the woods, the doors, you could hear the doors moving on the seals. We still got this damn leak too. It's come back. I put some, stuff in the engine, in the oil, to try to help it until we can get the motor pulled out of it. But when we get back January 30th, I'm gonna have to pull the motor out. I'm either gonna build it as a stroker or build it right at that time for a turbo with the 4.0. Just gap the rings and get everything ready. Stud the blocks, stud the heads, all that stuff. But this is getting on my nerves. There's a groove in the crank. If y'all remember when we did it, there's a groove cut in the crank, and I think it's been like that since I bought the engine because it's always had a little leak. I don't think it's the mud or water that did it, but anyway, we got to fix that because it can't keep leaking. It's not bad. It's about that, that ain't too bad. But what I'm worried about is it getting water in the engine, mud and shit through that. We put the 513 gear conversation we had last time. We ended up putting 488s in Kevin's rig, and I'm just gonna leave mine alone because it's not broke, so don't fix it. And if I could just get a little bit more power, it would do what I want it to do. And it'll hit the rev limiter in first gear. When you hit second gear, when you shift it in second in low range, it'll go about 3,000 or 4,000 RPMs. It'll just sit there, and it's just, lugging at that point. If I can get it to get on up to the rev limiter in second, I'll be happy with it. That's all I want it to do. I changed, this caliper was stuck, so I changed that to a phenolic. Remember I told y'all, I made a video about the phenolic pistons on the rear. Everybody says they're junk, but they work good in the mud because they don't get rusted up and stuck. This piston in this one was so rusted up it couldn't even go back in, so we changed that one. We left that one alone because it ain't stuck. I pulled it out, looked at it, it looks good. I bought new exhaust pipe. I was going to take and cut and form it here with 4-inch, which is way too big. It ain't gonna work. I don't know what I was thinking. You could get it on here, but it would hit the drive shaft. So if we're going to get any more power out of this engine, we're going to have to upgrade this. This is too small. It ain't going to support no more horsepower than what it's got. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reorder this stuff and get 3-inch. And when I get 3-inch, I'll see if I can make that work. And then we'll make a video doing that. And we're going to run 3-inch all the way back, do away with the cat, put the O2 back there in the pipe, and the O2 right here, just up there, put it back in the pipe, and probably cut that muffler out to accept 3-inch pipe. The 4-inch would work. I could get it in here, but it'd be so tight right here around the drive shaft that any flex up and it would probably hit it, and I don't want to deal with that. But I think another 1/2 inch off of it, I can tuck it around up in here some and come back through here. Plus about 4 inches is all you got through there. The only reason I'm trying to put bigger exhaust on it is because if we do anything I talked about with the engine, making more power, you got to have the exhaust flow out of it or you'd just be killing yourself. I've done it before. When they had the old IROC Z Camaros out, my cousin had one. I built a 383 for it, and it should have been about 400 horse, 450 horse, but it wouldn't get out of its own way. And we took it to the track, and it just wouldn't do what it's supposed to do. And we unhooked that exhaust from it and took it back, and it just woke it up. You can only push so much air through that little exhaust on these things. Mine is 2.5 inch from I think we did it from there back. No, from right there back is 2.5 inch. But I want to get all that out from under there, put a 3-inch exhaust on it. I got lots of stuff to do to this thing still, but it's just, right now it's just been time. We've been very busy at work. I'm working 15-16 hour days, and on the weekends I just tinker with it until I can get some money up to do it. I've looked at turboing it. I've looked at an M90 supercharger, an M112 supercharger. When we pull the engine out, we'll decide to do what we're going to do about all that, because I want to do something of the sort. Either build a Strucker motor, something to get more power. I want like 300 horse in this thing instead of 200. I know that's a lot of jump, but I figure it's probably I bet it's above 210 right now with the stuff I've done to it, because we did port the intake. I gasket matched it basically, but this thing does seem to have more power than most of my buddies does. It might be the way I drive it. But anyway, we might have a deal with this thing. There's a Dodge dealership here in where I'm living at, and they do lift kits and stuff there for Jeeps, and they want me to advertise for them on this thing and go to some Jeep shows and do different things like that. So we may get to do that pretty soon. I might be able to make some extra money doing that to help with the engine. Hell, they may be able to help me get some parts too. You never know. I've been sponsored before drag racing, and it helps out big time. That's the only way I could ever go fast was, I had an engine sponsor. Guy that built the engines, and we just ran it. See, I sealed up the snorkel. Oh, sorry, I was drinking some water. That Jeep ride is January the 30th in Lake City, Florida. If any of you guys want to go, let me know. We're going to go down there, get a hotel. We can go to dinner, and we're going to spend the weekend down there just playing in the mud. We're going to go on that annual memorial trail ride. It's actually a trail ride for the fallen people who have passed away the year before. And I'm going to go down, which I go every year, but this year I'll be able to ride for my mother. We grew up in the woods out where we go ride at in those woods. That's where I grew up at. I could one day I'll show you all the whole homestead that we lived on. We moved out there when I was 10 years old, so we lived on a dirt road. This side of our property all the way through was that forest. Behind us was that forest, and over here was that forest. We had a piece of property out there that my dad bought in the middle of nowhere, and that's how I started doing that forest, riding in those woods. When I was 13 years old, I had a little truck, and then it had no tag or nothing on it. We just rode out there at night and during the day playing in the mud, and then I upgraded to Chevrolets and Jeeps and you name it. Been out there riding those trails since I was 13 and still ain't rode them all. That's why I love it out there so much. I grew up out there, but I'm gonna ride this trail ride for my mom. It was a weird circumstances with her. Like I said, she just went in, her side was hurting, and they had vacation planned that next week. She had her hair done and her nails, and they were getting ready to go and packed up, and she just had to have that procedure done. It was laparoscopic or whatever you call it, and they were going to take that out. She would be out in a couple days, and that ain't what happened. She called me the day she was supposed to get out, she was up walking around. She said everything was good, that she was okay. She was just hurting a little bit, and that as soon as tomorrow she'd be able to go home. Well, that night something happened, and the next day they called and told us to get up there to the hospital. Got up there, she was on life support and bleeding internally real bad, and she didn't make it. And it was a hell of a shock. To me, it's amazing how much you can miss somebody, is all I can say about it. My mother was loved by lots of people. It was a big funeral. She did lots of great things in her life. She actually, I'll tell y'all a story. She actually, when I was about 16 years old, she was going to work one morning, and she was going down the interstate, and she happened to see something on the side of the interstate, and she had a feeling that she needed to go see what it was. I'm sure we've all been there, but she actually went down to the next exit, turned around, came back, and went back down to where she seen it at, pulled over, and it was a little infant, newborn, just born, on the side of the road, just laying there cold. She had ants on him. And my mom got the baby, wrapped it up, took it to the emergency room, and saved it. And she tried to adopt him and all that stuff, but that didn't work out. But they had an article up there, and they spoke about it at her funeral, that she did that. So I know she's in heaven. You know, she was a good woman. She taught me work ethic. She taught me how to take care of myself, manage money, cook clean, do everything. And she was a very, very good woman. And it seems like, you know, she was only 60 years old, and she was in good health. So I don't know what happened. We probably never will. But long story short, you know, she's gone. And a lot of you guys have been through lots of things in my life, so I figure I would let y'all know about that. But January 30th, we're going to Lake City, Florida, and we're going to trail ride for the Memorial Trail Ride, and I'm going to be riding for my mom. If anybody wants to come, hit me up and Google it, Lake City, Florida. See how far you are away and see if y'all can do it and be cool. Y'all, everybody said they want to do a trail ride with Betty. The only thing I could tell you is snorkel. If you don't have one, you can put them on an XJ for $100. Get you a snorkel, at least 33s. If you got 33s, you can probably ride the whole trail ride. You might get stuck some, but you know, it's all in fun. But if you got anything smaller than that, you might be struggling. And it's a pretty good long ride. We stopped for lunch, and the trail leader, Vidal, he does it every year. He usually makes it where everybody can, no matter what you got, you can ride it first. But usually after we eat lunch and we go on out on through the trails, it gets really bad. The last time I drug out several people out of these roads and swamps and stuff. But if you want to experience the swamps and the Osceola National Forest, y'all come on out. It'll be fun. I'll be there. Kevin will be there with his, and you can see his Jeep, the stuff we did to it, and we got the gears put in it, and it acts totally different, which is nice because it was a dog with the stock gears in it. But we was gonna put 513 gears in his, and I was gonna make a video on it, but we couldn't find a brand of gear that I liked. I mean, they make 513s for them, but I don't know the manufacturer of the gear, so he had to spend the money to get the gear. So I told him just to get the 488s because they were actually made by a good company, and we got it all put in there. Everything went well. The only thing with these 825s is if you've got your pinion rolled up like mine and his is for the drive shaft angle, you do it with the wedges. It's hell doing the rear end because it's got those threaded side pieces that you set your backlash with. it wants to keep falling out on you. I did this one on the bench, and now I know why. I was wondering why I took it out to do it, but it's the easiest way with these because of the carrier. You could, I guess you could unloosen the U-bolts and then roll it up like that, and it'd help you. But we got it all in there. We got the front set at 6, the rear set at I think 8, and it's been riding good. But we've got to do some work to Betty. I know that. She's getting raggedy looking. All this stuff been on there. I think we put this on here, shit, 4 or 5 years ago, and it's starting to come off and fade. I don't know. I thought this was powder coat, but I don't think it is. I think it's paint because it's coming off from washing it so much. Because I squirt down behind there with the pressure washer, get mud out behind it. But yeah, check your intake tube. And if you come to that trail ride, you can get these for $100 for an XJ. It's well worth it. I've had this one for years. It goes on the air box like that, and I've got it totally sealed. You can take this off and put your hand over it, and it'll suck the air box in. So it's all sealed. But I'll get the camera set up when I get these parts for this radiator, because I think that's going to make a hell of a difference, sealing it up to the radiator where it's got to suck straight through it and it ain't got no air gaps around it. I think that's going to help. And I also put a 190 thermostat back in it. I had a 160 in it, just trying stuff. Anyway, guys, I guess that's it. I got my shop all set up. Let me show you all that real quick. This took me a year. But see, that's a 6-inch cylinder too. And from all this time I've had that on there, I didn't know how much steering I was losing until I unhooked that thing. I always noticed I had to turn around when other people didn't. And I got that cylinder on there and looked at it, and it's not long enough. It needs to be 8 inches. So I'm going to be trying to find one of those, decent priced. It's been cold up here, so I got a bunch of flowers in there right now, but I got the compressors finally hooked up. Got my table back. Look familiar? It's just how I like to work. I like having that table in the middle. I got my other vise mounted up here. I got my big vise here. I got the lathe set up on the back wall. Everything's ready to rock and roll. I got the plasma cutter hooked up and the welders hooked up. I ran it. Look what I use for straps. It works. Wired it up there. That's a big wire going in straight into the box. I got a 50-foot cord for it where it'll reach all the way out there to the Jeep. And I've always ran a 50-foot cord on it, even at the old house, and it worked fine. But everything's working, ready to go. I got it all hooked up. I did get some moisture in here from the rain because I had the door open. It's got this a little rusted. But this is what happened to the shroud. It broke it. But what I'm going to do is that's the lip around here. That stuff will slip over that rubber. It's like a 1/2 inch, you know, collapsible soft stuff. I'm going to put it all around here, all around that lip, and seal this thing up to where it's got to pull pull all the air through it instead of having any air gaps around it. I think it'll help. And anywho, boys and ladies, I'm just rambling today. Been out here messing with Betty, trying to find something to do to her. I done did all the free stuff. But we're gonna pull that motor out after this trail ride, definitely. I'm tired of it leaking, and I don't know what I'm gonna do, turbo or stroke it. If we stroke it, they make a cylinder head that's got 202 valves in it. It's a cast iron head, but it's the same head as this one. This is a 98 head. These are pretty good heads. A 7162, I think. I'd have to look, but we could port it, stroke it, change the camshaft to one that'll work with the ECM and not have any issues with it, and then go ahead and gap the rings for boost, And then after we do that, if we can come up with the money to put a supercharger on it or a turbo, we will. I'm kind of thinking about a supercharger nowadays, but I don't know. Y'all know how it is with the Jeeps. You get like all these hopes and dreams and stuff you want to do, but it's all about that. And I have spent some cash on this thing. YouTube's growing. I mean, if I would make more videos, it'd keep growing more, but to me, I'm not gonna make a video on packing the hubs and stuff. I've already done that. So the fan, something that I can educate y'all on that would help you, I want to make videos on, like sealing these fans up and what I told you about cleaning the radiator out. When you pull it out and you just clean it with water, yeah, it'll work, it'll make it better, but you kind of need to get it back bright shiny aluminum to where it can dissipate the heat best. And so when I do the fans, we can make a video on that. The exhaust, pulling out the engine, definitely. I'm gonna have to put motor mounts on it before we go, and do the fans before we go. So whenever I get the parts in, we'll make a video on that. I need to hook these lights back up. I need to pay. That's why I showed y'all this. I'm gonna have to I want to put a backup light on it because I can't see crap out of this thing at night. I wish it didn't have these tinted windows, but it does. But we're gonna hook a light up here for backup, and I might put a stereo in it if I can figure out a way to keep this stuff from ruining it, because I like to party. Well, y'all think about the trail ride, January 30th, Lake City, Florida. Let me know. It'll be bunch of Jeeps. It's a lot of stopping and going, but it's a good time and it's for a good cause. It don't cost anything. If you want to give a couple bucks to the trail leader, you can. It's up to you. I always encourage people to do that when I'm at that ride, because Dale actually goes out for weekend after weekend plotting these trails to where everybody can go, and he's got to watch the weather, because if it rains out there, certain trails you can go through today, you ain't going through tomorrow because it'll be 5 foot deep. But most of the water you can do with 33s. He kind of makes it that way. He runs 35s on his Jeep, so it's pretty much set up for that. And then if any of you guys want to do some real bad stuff after the trail ride that night, or sometime after everybody leaves, I can take y'all to some spots if you want to really get into some stuff. And if you do want to do that, pull it here on a trailer. I'd recommend you pull it on a trailer anyway if you're coming, because if something happens, you know what I'm saying. But y'all take it easy. I'm gonna get off here and keep tinkering Betty. I think I'm gonna do something with this droopy headliner next, and this, because it's driving me crazy. It's shaking real bad. Let's see why it's doing that. And replace that switch right there where we got overdrive again. But y'all take it easy, and I'm gonna tell y'all what was going on, and I'll holler at you. Y'all come to the trail ride if you can. I've had hundreds of you say y'all wanted to go. Here's your chance. Plan it out. Let me know. All right, bye.